Girls, as we dig into session 7, we're going to be talking about this truth of endurance in the life of a Christian. There's a fascination right now with things that have endured the test of time, vintage items. For example, in my office, I have an old Nintendo Entertainment System. It's kind of one of those gaming systems that you would play Super Mario Brothers. Maybe you have heard of it or seen that on TV. Or I also have an old typewriter, not with a motor, just manual typewriter. And both of those things are in the corner of my office because they just look cool, but they always are a point of conversation. People will come in, and one of the first questions that they say is, "Oh my goodness, this is great. Does it still work?" And I have enjoyed telling them, yeah, they both still work. These gadgets have lasted several decades now. And their endurance has a lot to say about the material that they're made of. Now, cut to a couple of our clothing department stores that have recently been found out to design their clothes to intentionally fall apart. That's right, the clothes were not even designed to last a year. They were just intentionally designed to keep you buying more. Endurance is an interesting thing in this time. And Christ calls us to live a life of endurance. When you look at 2 Thessalonians, there's a whole part where Paul is actually praying for the believers. And he is saying, I'm praying that you would direct your heart to God's love and Christ's endurance. When I started digging into that passage, I realized a couple of things. It's not just saying, I pray that you would have endurance. He's saying God's love and Christ's endurance. That means that those things belong to God, right? Endurance belongs to Christ. So when Paul's talking about that, he clearly understands that we're not supposed to put confidence in our own endurance. He's putting confidence in the one that it belongs to. He's putting confidence in what Christ is able to do in us and through us. We're going to be digging into a couple of biblical stories that have to do with people like Daniel and his friends and the really difficult situations that they found themselves in, life and death situations, and how they were able to endure in those moments. And it wasn't just because of their own strength, it was because of God at work in and through them. As I started thinking about endurance in our own lives, I was thinking about what it takes and what we see even in Daniel's life and some of the other biblical stories. And one of the things that I came to understand is our daily walk with God impacts our daily endurance. As we spend time with him, as we spend time in his word, we're going to understand what it looks like. We're going to understand how we're supposed to live, and we're going to find our strength in him. We're going to be able to find our focus in him, and it's going to help us endure difficult situations. On top of that, it's walking with people that walk with God. That's going to help us endure. If you're having to stand alone in difficult situations, it's harder to endure. But if you have friends, you have a team of people that are walking with you, you're going to be able to have more strength and more comfort and more focus because you have people cheering you on. You have people that are walking with you through that same situation. A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to be a part of a half marathon. And it was really hard for me because I have really difficult feet. I played college soccer and my feet just hurt because of some of the things that I went through and just the way that God designed my feet. And a couple of years ago, I had surgery and I didn't know if I would be able to walk a mile, let alone run a whole half marathon. But I really wanted to do that. It was something that I wanted to commit to. And I really felt like in the midst of training that I would somehow, those moments ended up being an act of worship. I needed a friend to do it with. And so one of my friends, Amy, had run several half marathons. And so she agreed to kind of coach me and run alongside of me. So all the way throughout the whole race, Amy was there, and she would set a pace clock, and she would tell me if we were running too fast, or she would tell me to speed it up. We would come to a point in the race where I wanted to walk, and she would say, no, here's what the course looks like. And she was able to say, I've been here before. If you just get to the top of that hill, you're gonna be able to be on flat land. And then we would get to a point where somebody would offer us maybe a banana or a certain type of food. And if we had not trained with it, Amy was there to knock it out of my hands, which was a little bit devastating to reach for a banana and then have her hit it out of my hand. I thought, what are you doing? And she said, we haven't trained with it. We don't know how our bodies are going to respond. And some point in the race, I may have gotten a little bit frustrated with her, but it was still great to have her along the ride. Towards the end of the race, we had just a little bit left to go, and I was ready to quit. My feet were hurting. I was losing focus. It was hard to endure. And I remember Amy coming alongside of me, and her dad is a professional marathon runner. And she would keep on telling me stories about her dad. You know, when my dad gets to a point like this, he always says, you can do anything for 10 minutes. And she goes, we only have 10 minutes left. You're good. You can do anything for 10 minutes. And I remember her encouraging me with the stories of her dad, and that kept me going on until the very end. She even told me where to smile at the end of the race when the cameras are. She goes, this is where the cameras are. You're gonna have a great photo if you smile here. It made all the difference. I was able to finish the race because of my team around me. Even with this resource, with this book, I have a team of people. I call them Team AJ. They've been praying for me, and they've been praying for you, and they've been praying for how Christ is gonna move in and through this resource. They've been praying for moments when I've had writer's block, when I've had difficulties. They pray for me to have that strength and focus as I've been doing the day-to-day work. What about you? What's your team look like? As you're running your race in life, the day-to-day, who do you have around you to help you stay on track, to help you stay focused? Where is your focus? And Scripture talks about the fact that we're supposed to fix our eyes on Christ. We're supposed to run the race towards Him. And a lot of times in the day-to-day, we focus on other things like, who am I going to take to prom? Or where am I going to college? And in those moments, that seems like, oh, this is our focus. This is what we're living for. But in light of the whole rest of our lives, our focus is not those things. Our focus is on, where is Christ? How am I running towards Him? So where's your focus? Today we're going to dig into those stories that really talk about endurance in the life of a Christian, and we're going to figure out what it looks like to have endurance in our life as a Christian. So excited about as we dig into that and discover what Jesus wants us to know about enduring day by day for a lifetime, and see how we can glorify Him as we take each step.